You're a racist, Mother. A fraud. Everyone knows it now. My daughter's voice came through my phone like a blade. I was standing in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning, the coffee maker still gurgling behind me. The words didn't make sense. They shouldn't have made sense. I had marched for civil rights in 1968. I had walked alongside Dr. King's legacy. I had raised my children to see the humanity in every person. But none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was what Sophia had just posted on social media. What mattered was that 3,000 people had already shared it. What mattered was that my 42 years of quiet activism, of donations to civil rights organizations, of volunteer work at community centers in predominantly Black neighborhoods had been erased in a single thread. I set the phone down on the counter. My fingers went rigid around the edge. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly, like the walls were closing in. I had to sit down. My legs wouldn't hold me. The story she told was a masterpiece of selective truth and outright fabrication. According to Sophia's posts, I had spent decades pretending to be an ally while secretly harboring racist beliefs. She claimed I had made racist comments at family dinners. She said I had discouraged her from dating a Black man in college. She alleged that my civil rights work was performative, a way to feel good about myself while maintaining my white privilege and looking down on people of color. Every single claim was false. Everyone. But the internet doesn't care about truth. The internet cares about outrage. By noon, journalists were calling. By evening, old friends were sending confused messages. By the next morning, I was trending on Twitter. My name was everywhere. Not as Breonna Payne, the woman who had been tear-gassed in Memphis in 1969. Not as Breonna Payne, who had donated $50,000 to the NAACP over the years. Not as Breonna Payne, who had spent every Saturday for 15 years tutoring kids in underserved communities. I was just racist mom exposed by her own daughter. That was my identity now. I called Sophia immediately. She didn't answer. I called again, and again. By the fourth attempt, she blocked my number. I sat there staring at my phone, trying to understand how we had arrived at this moment. How my daughter, the child I had raised to think critically and question authority, had decided that her version of my life was more true than my actual life. The timeline of our relationship played through my mind, like a film I'd seen 1,000 times. Sophia was my youngest, born in 1985, when I was already 35 years old. My older children, Marcus and Eleanor, had been teenagers when she arrived. She had always been different from them, more idealistic, more vocal about injustice, more convinced that she alone could fix the world's problems. I had encouraged this. I had taken her to community meetings. I had shown her the photographs from my marches. I had told her stories about the 60s, about the fear and the hope that had mingled together in those years. I had wanted her to understand that change required sacrifice, that it required showing up, even when you were afraid. She had listened, or so I thought. When she turned 18, Sophia became obsessed with what she called performative activism. She wrote essays about white people who claimed to be allies but whose actions didn't match their words. She started a blog. She began analyzing every public figure, every corporation, every white person claiming to care about racial justice. She was looking for hypocrisy. She was determined to expose it wherever she found it. And then she started looking inward, toward our family, toward me. The first incident she brought up was from 1998. I had been at a dinner party with colleagues from the hospital, where I worked as a nurse administrator. According to Sophia, I had made a comment about how some neighborhoods were just too dangerous to visit after dark. She claimed this proved I was racist, that I was engaging in stereotyping. What I had actually said was in response to a mugging that had happened near the hospital. I had been expressing concern about safety in that particular area, which had nothing to do with race and everything to do with crime statistics. But Sophia had reframed it. In her version, I was a woman who saw black neighborhoods and assumed danger. A woman who was afraid of black people. The second incident was about her college boyfriend, Devin. She had dated him for 3 years. I had welcomed him into our home. I had treated him like a son. But when she ended the relationship because they wanted different things from life, he wanted to stay local, she wanted to travel. Sophia had reinterpreted my support as interference. She claimed I had discouraged the relationship. She said I had made Devin feel unwelcome. She posted screenshots of text messages I had sent her, taken completely out of context, that she claimed were racist. In one, I had written, "Make sure you're making choices for yourself, not for someone else. Your future matters too." Somehow, this became evidence that I didn't want her dating a black man. The third incident was the most painful. Sophia claimed that I had told her when she was 16 that I was worried about what people would think if she dated black boys. This conversation had never happened. Not once. I had never said anything like that. But by the time her post went viral, it didn't matter whether it was true. What mattered was that thousands of people believed it. What mattered was that my reputation was being dismantled in real time. Within 48 hours, I had received hate mail. People I had known for decades were distancing themselves. The hospital where I worked called me into a meeting. My supervisor, a man named Dr. Reeves, who had known me for 15 years, looked uncomfortable as he told me they would need to assess the situation before I could return to work. "You're not suspended," he said carefully, "but we need to understand what's happening here." What was happening was that my daughter had decided I was the enemy. What was happening was that she had weaponized the internet against me. What was happening was that the work I had done, real, tangible, decades-long work for racial justice, was being erased by a narrative she had constructed. I didn't understand why. That was the question that kept me awake at night. Why would she do this? What had I done to make her hate me so much? I went through our conversations obsessively, looking for the moment when things had shifted, looking for the moment when she had decided that I was a racist. I found it in an email she had sent me 6 months earlier. She had been working on a project about white complicity and had asked me to answer some questions about my activism. I had responded honestly. I had told her about the marches. I had described the fear I felt, the danger I had witnessed, the lives that had been changed by the civil rights movement. But I had also been honest about something else. I had told her that I was imperfect, that I had made mistakes, that even with the best intentions, I had sometimes fallen short. I had said that I believed white people needed to do better, to listen more, to check their own biases constantly. I think that's when she decided I was a hypocrite. I think that's when she decided that my admission of imperfection was actually an admission of racism. I think that's when she decided to expose me. The posts kept coming. Day after day, new accusations. Some were variations on the original theme. Others were completely fabricated. She claimed I had used racial slurs. I hadn't. She claimed I had refused to attend a Black Lives Matter rally. I had attended 3. She claimed I had told her that reverse racism was real. I had never said that. I had said the opposite. But the damage was already done. By the end of the first week, I had lost my job. The hospital decided that my controversial status made me a liability. They offered me a severance package and suggested I might want to consider early retirement. I was 58 years old. I had planned to work for another 7 years. I had planned to save more money, to travel, to finally have time for the things I had put aside during my career. Instead, I was being forced out because my daughter had decided to destroy me. The second week was worse. Local news picked up the story. A reporter came to my house. I didn't answer the door. She left a card. I threw it away. The next day, she came back. I still didn't answer. By the third day, there were 3 reporters standing in my front yard. I called my lawyer. He told me to stop talking to anyone. He said that anything I said could be used against me. He said that Sophia's accusations, while unproven, had already damaged my reputation beyond repair. He said that fighting back would only make things worse. "What do you mean, make things worse?" I asked him. "How could things possibly be worse?" "She could sue you," he said, "for defamation if you publicly deny her claims. She could claim that your denials are causing her emotional distress. The court of public opinion has already decided you're guilty. The legal system is more complicated, but it's not in your favor." I hung up the phone. I sat in my living room in the dark, and I tried to understand how I had become the villain in my own life. The third week, I decided to tell my story. I wrote a response to Sophia's posts. I detailed every accusation and explained why it was false. I provided evidence, photographs from marches, donation receipts, letters of recommendation from community leaders I had worked with. I posted it on social media with the same hashtag she had used. It made things worse. Sophia responded immediately. She said I was gaslighting her. She said that my evidence was just more proof of my performative activism. She said that I was trying to silence her. She said that my response was an example of how white women use their tears and their documents to maintain power and credibility, while Black people are ignored. The comments on her post were brutal. People I had never met were calling me every name imaginable. They were sharing my address. They were threatening to protest outside my house. They were demanding that I be canceled completely, that I lose my home, my savings, everything. I deleted my response. I deleted my social media accounts. I stopped answering my phone. I became a ghost in my own life. By the 4th week, I had lost my house. Not literally. The mortgage was paid off, and I owned it outright. But I couldn't stay there anymore. Every time I looked out the window, I expected to see protesters. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected another threat. I packed a bag and went to a hotel. I paid cash. I used a fake name. My older children tried to help. Marcus called repeatedly. Eleanor sent emails. They both believed me. They both knew that Sophia's accusations were false. But they were also afraid. They were afraid of being associated with me. They were afraid of being canceled themselves. "Mom, I want to help," Marcus said when he finally reached me at the hotel. "But I have a family. I have kids. If I publicly defend you, Sophia will come after them next. I can't risk that." I understood. I hated it, but I understood. My children were choosing survival over solidarity. They were choosing their own families over their mother. And I couldn't blame them for it. Eleanor sent a text message. "I love you, but I can't be involved in this publicly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I didn't respond. What was there to say? The 5th week, the story started to fade from the news cycle. A celebrity scandal replaced me. The internet moved on to its next target. But the damage remained. My reputation was destroyed. My career was over. My relationship with my youngest daughter was obliterated. I stayed in the hotel for 2 months. I didn't go out except to buy groceries. I didn't talk to anyone. I spent my days reading articles about cancel culture, about social media mobs, about the way that truth had become irrelevant in the age of outrage. And then, something unexpected happened. A journalist named Grace Chen reached out to me. She had been investigating Sophia's claims. She had talked to the people Sophia had mentioned. She had looked at the evidence, and she had discovered that almost everything Sophia had posted was false or misleading. The dinner party comment? Grace had found the actual attendees. They all confirmed that I had been talking about crime statistics, not race. The college boyfriend? Grace had contacted Devin. He said that I had been nothing but welcoming and supportive. The text messages? Grace had obtained the full context and showed that they were examples of normal parental guidance, not racist interference. Grace wanted to write a story. She wanted to expose Sophia's lies. She wanted to restore my reputation. I told her no. Why? She asked, genuinely confused. You have the opportunity to clear your name. Because, I said slowly, the truth doesn't matter anymore. It never did. Sophia told a story that people wanted to believe, and they believed it. If I tell the true story now, people will just think I'm making excuses. The narrative is already written. I can't change it. Grace didn't understand. But she respected my decision. She didn't publish the story. Instead, I did something different. I reached out to Sophia, not to confront her, not to demand an apology, but to understand. I asked if I could meet with her. I said I wanted to listen. I said I wanted to know what had really happened. Why had she done this? What had I done to make her hate me so much? She agreed to meet. We sat in a coffee shop on a Friday afternoon. She looked tired. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. She looked like someone who had won a war and discovered that victory tasted like ashes. Why did you do it? I asked her. She stared at her coffee for a long time before answering. Because I was angry, she finally said. I was angry that you got to march in the 60s and then go home to your comfortable life. I was angry that you got to feel like a hero while the people you were fighting for still lived in poverty and fear. I was angry that you could take credit for being an ally while doing nothing to actually change the systems that oppress people. So, you decided to destroy me? I said. I decided to expose you, she corrected. I decided to show that you weren't as good as you thought you were. And was I? I asked. Was I as bad as you said I was? She didn't answer immediately. She looked at me for the first time since we had sat down, and I saw something in her eyes that I hadn't expected. I saw doubt. I saw regret. No, she finally said. I don't think you were, but I needed you to be. I needed you to be the villain because it was easier than admitting that I was wrong. It was easier than admitting that I had been looking for a reason to be angry at you because I was angry at the world, and you were the easiest target. I reached across the table and took her hand. She didn't pull away. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I ruined your life. You did, I said. But I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still me, even if the world thinks I'm someone I'm not. We sat there for a long time, not talking, just sitting together in the wreckage of what we had been to each other. The apology didn't fix everything. It couldn't. The internet had moved on, but the damage remained. I couldn't get my job back. I couldn't undo the posts. I couldn't make people forget what they thought they knew about me. But something shifted. Sophia posted an apology on social media. She admitted that she had exaggerated and misrepresented my words. She said that she had been wrong. She said that her mother was not a racist and that she was sorry for the pain she had caused. It didn't go viral. It got a fraction of the engagement that her original posts had received. Most people didn't even see it. But some did. Some people who had believed Sophia now questioned whether they had been right to do so. I didn't try to rebuild my reputation. I didn't try to go back to my old life. That life was over. Instead, I did something different. I started volunteering again, not to prove anything to anyone, but because it was the right thing to do. I worked with a community center in a neighborhood that had been hit hard by disinvestment. I helped with after-school programs. I mentored young people. I listened to their stories. I showed up week after week without expecting recognition or gratitude. And slowly, people began to see me differently. Not as the woman from the viral posts, but as a person, as someone who was present, someone who was willing to do the work without needing credit for it. Sophia started volunteering too. We didn't work together, but we worked in the same community. We saw each other sometimes. We would nod. We would smile. Slowly, we rebuilt something that resembled a relationship. It wasn't the same as before. It couldn't be. But it was something. It was real. A year after the posts went viral, I was working at the community center when a young woman approached me. She was maybe 25, black, with fierce eyes and a determined expression. I recognized her from the neighborhood. "Are you Brianna?" she asked. "I am," I said. "I read about you," she said. "Online, about what your daughter said about you. I wanted to tell you that I didn't believe her." "I believed you." I didn't know what to say. I thanked her. We talked for a few minutes. She told me that she had been volunteering at the center for 6 months because of me, because she had heard that I was working there, and she wanted to understand what real activism looked like. "Most people just talk," she said. "They post on social media about how much they care. But you actually show up. You actually do the work. That means something." After she left, I sat down on one of the plastic chairs in the center's main room. I let myself cry. Not tears of sadness, tears of something else. Relief, maybe, or recognition, or the understanding that I had finally become the person I had always claimed to be. The posts were still out there. They would probably always be out there. Someone, somewhere, would probably always believe that I was a racist. The internet never truly forgets. But I had stopped caring about what the internet believed. I had started caring about what I knew to be true. I knew that I had spent my life fighting for justice. I knew that I had made mistakes. I knew that I would continue to make mistakes. I knew that being an ally meant listening, learning, and showing up even when it was uncomfortable. I knew that my daughter had hurt me deeply, but that she had also taught me something valuable. She had taught me that good intentions weren't enough, that I couldn't rest on the work I had done in the 60s, that I had to keep doing the work every single day for the rest of my life. 2 years after the posts, Sophia and I had dinner together. Just the two of us. We sat at a restaurant that we both loved, the same place we had gone for her birthday every year since she turned 18. "I've been in therapy," she told me. "I've been trying to understand why I did what I did, why I needed to hurt you so badly." "And?" I asked. "And I think it's because I was afraid," she said. "I was afraid that I wasn't doing enough to fight racism. I was afraid that I was complicit in systems of oppression just by existing as a white person. And I was afraid that you were complicit too. So I made you into the villain so that I could feel like I was fighting against something, so I could feel like I was doing something that mattered." "Were you?" I asked. "Doing something that mattered?" "No," she said quietly. "I was just hurting people. I was just destroying relationships. I was just proving that I could be cruel, and I dressed it up as activism." "And now?" I asked. "Now I'm trying to do better," she said. I'm trying to actually listen to people instead of just assuming I know what they're thinking. I'm trying to fight against racism in ways that actually help, instead of ways that just make me feel good about myself. I reached across the table and took her hand. That's all any of us can do, I said. We finished dinner. We talked about her job, about my volunteer work, about the community center and the people we were helping. We talked about Marcus and Eleanor. We talked about the future. It wasn't perfect. There were still wounds that hadn't fully healed. But there was hope. There was the possibility of reconciliation. There was the understanding that we were both doing our best in an imperfect world. When I got home that night, I looked at my phone. There was a message from a journalist. She had found my number somehow. She wanted to write about my story. She wanted to tell people about the cancel culture mob and how I had survived it. She wanted to make me famous again. I didn't respond to her message. I deleted it. I turned off my phone. I had learned something in those 2 years. I had learned that being seen wasn't the same as being known. I had learned that being famous wasn't the same as being loved. I had learned that the only thing that mattered was the work I was doing and the people I was helping. The internet had tried to define me as a racist. It had failed. Not because I had won some public relations battle, but because I had stopped caring what the internet thought. I had stopped needing validation from strangers. I had focused on being the person I knew I was, and on helping the people who needed help. That was enough. It had to be enough. It was the only thing that made sense. 3 years after the posts went viral, I was working at the community center when Sophia arrived. She had gotten a job there too. We would be working together now. We would be building something together. On her first day, we sat in the break room during lunch. She looked nervous. "Are you okay with this?" she asked me. "With us working together?" "Yes," I said. "I think it's good. I think it's right." "I'm still sorry," she said. "I know I've said it 1,000 times, but I need you to know that I'm still sorry." "I know," I said, "and I forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, but because you've spent these 3 years trying to make it right, and because I love you, and because that's what mothers do." She cried. I held her, and we started our work together. The posts are still out there. I know they are. I've never looked at them again, but I know they exist somewhere in the digital archive. Someone, somewhere, probably still believes that I'm a racist. Someone, somewhere, probably shares those posts as an example of white hypocrisy or performative activism. But I'm not that person anymore. I'm not the woman who was canceled. I'm the woman who showed up. I'm the woman who did the work. I'm the woman who listened to her daughter and tried to understand her pain instead of just defending herself. I'm the woman who learned that the worst thing that happened to me was also the best thing that happened to me, because it forced me to stop resting on my laurels. It forced me to become the person I had always claimed to be. It forced me to actually do the work instead of just talking about it. If you're facing a situation where you've been accused of something you didn't do, where your reputation has been destroyed by someone you love, where the internet has decided that you're the villain, know that it's possible to survive it. Know that it's possible to rebuild. Know that the truth matters less than the work you do and the person you become. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that will ever matter. If you want more stories like this, stick around.